Divorced mom invests her last $50,000 in burned mansion, discovers incredible hidden secret. Sarah felt the weight of the world crashing down around her. The divorce had left her reeling, the bills piling up like unsorted laundry. It seemed as if everyone in Maplewood, Kansas judged her. Every sideways glance and whispered conversation about the single mom struggling to raise 2 teenagers without her husband echoed loudly in her heart. Then one day, while driving through the town, the shadows shifted, and Sarah spotted an old mansion, standing defeated at the edge of town, its once grand facade now a canvas scarred by flames. That mansion had been a source of pride in Maplewood, a place where the laughter of children had once danced through its halls. Something inside Sarah sparked. This wasn't just a property, it was a chance for her family's renewal. With her last $50,000, every penny in her savings account, Sarah took the gamble, believing that restoring the mansion could restore her own shattered foundation. As she set foot inside, the smell of dust wrapped around her like an old friend. She began the renovations, determined, and each day brought new discoveries. The attic whispered secrets as she climbed its creaking stairs, where she unearthed boxes filled with ancient letters and faded photographs. It told a story of the mansion's vibrant past, the bravery of a local war hero who had inspired the town. The tales ignited a flicker of excitement within her, offering a glimpse of hope. But there was skepticism too from the neighbors, who saw her efforts as foolish. Who was she, after all, but a failed mom? Motherhood isn't just about love, it's a lifeline, but Sarah struggled as her kids retreated. She caught the disdain in their eyes as they looked at the mansion's peeling paint. "This is embarrassing," her daughter Hannah muttered under her breath, pulling away from the town's judgment. Her son Jake, distracted by the echoes of his old life, often vanished into his room, shutting Sarah out like he would a stray cat. Just when Sarah's determination seemed boundless, looming darkness arrived. A slick, polished developer approached her with a greedy grin and an offer that chafed at her soul. He wanted to turn the mansion into luxury condos. Her heart raced as she weighed the risk of losing it all against the possibility of a quick payout. The flicker of hope from her discoveries felt like it was burning out, collapsing under the weight of failure. Standing at the town hall meeting, her palms were sweaty, a storm brewing in her gut. Sarah took the floor, her voice quaking as she shared the rich heritage she had uncovered. "This history matters. It is our community's legacy," she pleaded, looking over skeptical faces. Some murmured in agreement, while others frowned, their judgment cutting deep. Did she not deserve their trust? The tension thickened, and a tear slipped down her cheek, but she pressed on, passionate yet frightened. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The community's voices swelled around her, drowning in disbelief, yet Sarah's determination burned brighter. She caught a flash of movement behind her. Hannah and Jake had entered the dusty foyer, their expressions etched with disbelief and annoyance. The tension soared. Beyond the walls of the mansion, voices murmured in opposition. Palpable fear raced through her, but so did a sense of hope. Against all odds, could she really save both the mansion and her family's future? The answer lay just beyond her fingertips, wrapped in the history of those long gone but never forgotten. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she stood on the stage, her voice trembling but fierce. "We can't let greed destroy our heritage." The murmurs around her grew louder, weaving through her words, mixing disbelief with glimmers of support. Hannah crossed her arms, a tight line stretched across her face. Jake leaned against the wall, his expression unreadable. As she scanned the room, Sarah locked eyes with Mr. Thompson, the town's historian. His brow furrowed in thought, and she sensed he understood what was at stake. But would he rally behind her? "Remember what this place means to us," Sarah forced out. The lives it touched, the history it witnessed. We all have stories that started here. She thought of her own, how her life was lost in a whirlwind of bad decisions and heartbreak, yet here she stood, hoping for a new beginning. The developer shifted in his seat, a smirk tugging at his lips. This old structure is nothing more than a fire trap. Think of the jobs and revenue luxury condos will bring. His words dripped with mock sincerity, fueling the doubt that flickered among the residents. The crowd's energy pulsed as neighbors leaned closer, watching the tension build. Had her rallying cries been enough? Just a few days ago, it was the mansion that filled her with hope and determination. Now, it felt like the walls were closing in. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed in the room. Sarah turned to see Mr. Thompson rising. His voice, though shaky, carried authority. We must protect our history, not only for ourselves but for future generations. Relief flowed through Sarah, mingling with the fear that had gripped her heart. She could see heads nodding in agreement, like petals opening in the morning sun. It was happening. Hope fluttered back to life. For the first time, Sarah felt a small surge of confidence pierce the anxiety weighing her down. People were starting to listen, but then she felt Jake's presence behind her. "Mom, we need to go," he murmured, urgency in his tone. Hannah remained silent, her displeasure barely concealed. Sarah's heart sank. Had her children come here just to forsake her? "Just a moment," she said, the words laden with desperation. The thought of losing them felt like a fathomless chasm opening beneath her. "Can't you see I'm fighting for us?" Jake ran a hand through his hair, exasperated. "Do you really think this is the way to fix things? You're dragging us into this, into all of this mess." His gaze was fierce, hurt intertwining with his anger. The weight of his words hung heavy in the air, piercing through Sarah's newfound hope. Was she failing them yet again? A quiet voice from the crowd broke the tension. "Maybe she's right. Maybe this mansion, this story can bring us together." A man stood, a tear glistening in his eye as he held up an old photograph of the mansion, smiling families surrounding it. "We can't forget who we are." In that moment, Sarah felt a rush of determination rise within her as she turned back to her children. They needed this as much as she did. She took a step closer, ready to fight for not just the mansion, but her family and their future. But how could she convince her kids they were in this together? The stakes were higher than ever, and the weight of a town's legacy pressed down on her like an anchor. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, a heavy silence fell over the room. The developer stood, fury etched in his features. "You think you can convince them? This is a done deal." As the tension peaked, she knew the time for action had come, but would she find a way to unite her family and the community before it was too late? The murmurs of the crowd grew into a blur, and Sarah's heart raced. Would she rise to the occasion, or would she let fear snuff out the last flicker of hope? The answer felt agonizingly close, teetering on the brink of disaster. She felt the weight of the room bearing down on her. The developer's smug grin only fueled her resolve to fight, yet uncertainty bubbled at the edges of her determination. Could she turn the tide? "Everyone," she shouted, trying to anchor her voice above the swelling sound of doubt. "Please, listen. This mansion isn't just wood and bricks. It's our memory. Our identity. It holds the laughter, the tears, the victories of our families. If we let it go, we're letting go of who we are." Jake's lips pressed into a thin line, frustration radiating off him. Hannah, arms still crossed, watched silently, her eyes revealing more than her words ever could. Fear wrapped itself around Sarah's heart, squeezing tightly. She wasn't just fighting for the mansion, she was vying for her children's trust, for the right to lead them into something better. "Let us not forget," Mr. Thompson added, stepping closer to the microphone. His voice, steady now, filled the air with conviction. "That mansion has watched us grow. It's a witness to our history. If we tear it down, we erase those memories." A ripple of shared emotion flowed through the crowd. Eyes began to glisten, some nodding in quiet agreement. Sarah felt like a match tossed into a pool of gasoline. The flames of hope sparked, the developer's expression twisted with anger. You're living in the past. Progress means new beginnings. And you're all just clinging to nostalgia. Maybe, Sarah countered, refusing to back down. But that nostalgia is the very foundation we build our future on. Without it, we have nothing to stand for. Moments passed with a heaviness that filled the room. Then, a woman Sarah recognized from the community stepped forward. I remember playing in that mansion as a child, those summer afternoons filled with laughter around the old trees. It meant homes, families, and community. Yes. A voice from the back called out, and another joined, we need to preserve our history. The crowd had shifted. It was a subtle movement, but it was real. Sarah grabbed the moment, her voice transforming from shaken to resolute. We can find a way to make this work. We can save the mansion and still create opportunities. Tourism, events, our stories could bring people together, not just here but from all over. Jake shifted his weight uneasily, and Hannah finally unfolded her arms, her expression softening a fraction. In that moment, Sarah realized that they weren't just her children, they were allies in a shared dream she had almost lost hope in, but just as the energy in the room surged, the developer stepped in, attempting to extract the air from the collective optimism. You're dreaming. These ideas are impractical. This town can't survive on fairy tales. Maybe not, Mr. Thompson retorted, but it can thrive on community spirit. The crowd erupted into applause, a strong collective voice filling the room. The developer's defiance took a hit, his bravado faltering for the first time. That's when Sarah noticed the shimmer of hope flickering in Jake's eyes and the hint of a smile on Hannah's face. Maybe they were starting to understand. But in the back of her mind, a new worry nagged at her. What if they won this battle, but she couldn't convince her kids to stay? The stakes felt impossibly high. Just then, she noticed the clock on the wall, a reminder that time was slipping away. A sudden thought jolted through her, if this was truly going to work, they needed to do something bold. Something that would unite everyone in a way that would silence the doubts permanently. Before she could contemplate the steps, she opened her mouth, ready to propose a plan, when she caught sight of the developer sneering, a glint of menace in his eyes. Would he try to shut them down? And in that vulnerable moment, as everyone held their breath, Sarah realized that the time for hesitation was over. Let us hold a town meeting this weekend, she declared, her voice unwavering. We'll discuss how we can make this mansion part of our future together. But just as the cheers began to grow louder, Sarah sensed an ominous chill creeping from the back of the room. Had she walked into a trap where old wounds lay hidden? The room erupted into a cacophony of voices. Cheers mixed with whispers of doubt. Sarah's heart raced as she scanned the crowd. Was it too much? Had she stepped too far? The developer's sneer only darkened, his eyes narrowing like a hawk watching its prey. A town meeting? You think that will change the facts? He called out, dismissive. You're wasting your time and your breath. But Sarah wasn't ready to back down. Fueled by the applause and renewed belief swirling around her, she took a deep breath. No, it won't be a waste. She thought of her children, of all the summers they spent weaving memories in the shade of the mansion's sprawling trees. It had to be worth it. This isn't just about the mansion, it's about our future. Hannah glanced at Jake, and then her mother. A blend of confusion and hesitant hope danced across her face. Sarah felt the warmth of their support, less like a weight and more like a pulse urging her forward. I'll show you, the developer mocked, stepping forward. I'll show you how quickly those dreams burn away. His attitude was dripping with contempt, but Sarah sensed something shifting in the atmosphere. The audience was watching. They were listening. Why don't we start by sharing our stories? Sarah challenged, stepping closer to the edge of the stage, her voice ringing clear. Everyone here has been touched by that mansion. Let us bring those stories forward, remind each other why we're here. Mr. Thompson jumped in, I have a story. My parents hosted their wedding in that mansion. It was filled with love and laughter. The crowd murmured, heads nodding in agreement. One by one, people started to share, old couples reminiscing about first dates on the wraparound porch, children talking about school dances that lit up the rooms with joy. Each voice building a portrait of the mansion as a cornerstone of their lives, a symbol of their shared past. Even Jake and Hannah shifted closer, as if drawn in by the collective memories. Could it be, she thought, that they might see what she saw, the giant that stood not just as a house, but as a beacon of their family values and community ties? As stories flowed freely, the developer's confident demeanor began to falter. Sarah caught a flicker of frustration crossing his face as one memory after another brought the crowd to life. Each story was a thread, weaving their collective identity. Then, out of the corner of her eye, Sarah saw a figure retreating from the back, cloaked in shadows. It was hard to tell who it was. The room was packed, and the energy was bubbling dangerously close to a boil. She tried to brush it off, focusing on the voices in the room, but the nagging feeling of unease began to fester again. When the last story wrapped around laughter, the developer stepped in, more flustered now, but still cocky. This is all sentimental nonsense. He spat, this mansion is just an old crumbling facade. You really think memories can pay the bills? But they can build a legacy. Sarah shot back. We can use this heritage to create something greater. To invest in our future without losing our past. The applause and chatter intensified, but another chill gripped her. She hadn't fully grasped what she stirred. Memories could mean everything, but could they galvanize enough support to truly save the mansion? Just then, a voice from the back called, what if there is something in that mansion that could help us? Something we don't know about? Sarah's heart raced. What could it be? The thought settled next to the unease. Did they really have hope to salvage their memories? Or were they, perhaps, sitting on something all along that could bind them together? As she stood there, staring into the crowd, anticipation mounting in the air, she realized one thing: this fight was far from over, and even deeper secrets lay in wait. What had they truly uncovered, and what else might that mansion hold? The murmurs of discovery rippled through the crowd. Faces turned to each other, curiosity igniting their imaginations. What hidden treasures or stories were locked behind the mansion's walls? Sarah felt the energy shifting again, a tug in the fabric of belief spreading like wildfire. Sarah, do you think it's possible? Hannah asked quietly, her big eyes glistening with wonder. It has to be, Sarah replied, confidence warming her voice. She couldn't believe it herself, but the way those around her looked, it was as if they too had come alive with the possibility. The developer scoffed, what, you think there's a treasure hidden inside? This isn't a fairy tale. If you're done with your little show, I have business to attend to. He turned, but Sarah wasn't about to let him walk away with his disdain. What if there is something we can uncover together? A piece of history that means something to all of us. Maybe something that proves how special this place really is. Her plea hung in the air, vulnerable yet powerful, and she noticed several heads nodding again. Together, Mr. Thompson echoed, stepping forward with an enthusiastic grin. There are stories, papers, trinkets, things in that mansion many of us might not even know about. The last owners may have left more than just dust. Questions surged through the room like waves crashing against a shore. What lay behind the peeling wallpaper? What stories were hidden under the floorboards where children once danced? Collective memories began to bloom anew, and amid the excitement, Sarah grasped the chance. Let us organize a visit, she announced, rallying herself. Let us get into that mansion, dust off its floors, and uncover whatever we can find. The audience erupted in cheers and applause, energy sparking through each clap. It felt magical, like they had taken the first step into the world of the unknown, a world where adventure beckoned. It was as if the mansion itself had leaned in closer, eager to share its secrets. Hannah and Jake exchanged a look of admiration. This was different from any tension they had felt earlier. There was hope in what they envisioned. "Let us do it," Jake exclaimed, caught up in the moment. "A community expedition. We can all pitch in." That's when Sarah noticed a shadow moving again toward the back of the room. Heart racing, she strained to catch a glimpse of the figure, but it slipped into anonymity. The ominous feeling crept back, twisting her stomach. Still, she pushed through. "If we find anything that proves the mansion's worth, we can show the town what it means to us. We can change the narrative." The developer's face soured, but the crowd was no longer his audience. They were behind Sarah, galvanized by the thrill of uncovering their past. As everyone began to discuss when they could gather and what they might bring, Sarah drank it all in. The glances of hope, the rekindled zest for community, she was surrounded by a wave of solidarity she hadn't expected. As plans took shape, a sense of urgency wrapped around Sarah's heart. What if there is something more sinister at play? She thought. Could the developer's disdain mean he held more information than he let on? The whispers continued, but a new tension hung in the air. "If he knows something he's not telling us just then," from the periphery, a voice called out again, almost lost in the chatter. "What if someone has been watching us?" The room fell silent, a focused gaze fixing on the speaker. "Watching? Why would anyone be watching us?" Sarah whispered, curled fingers pressing against her palm. And just like that, a new layer to their gathering unveiled itself. Sarah's breath quickened again. What were they really stirring up? What forces were unearthing from the shadows? She held on to that lingering unease, knowing this was just the beginning. The mansion still had many secrets, and she was determined to find out what lay waiting in the darkness or what might come rushing forward from it. What had they awakened? The air in the room thickened, a charged silence stretching awkwardly as Sarah's thoughts raced. She could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on her, questioning, waiting. A blend of excitement and trepidation rippled through the crowd. The words hung above them like a storm cloud threatening to break. Who would be watching us?" Sarah finally asked, her voice more steady than she felt. But inside, her heart pounded. The questions bloomed like weeds. Fingers pointed towards the darkened corners of the hall. Someone had to know something. Murmurs filled the air again, a mix of fear and speculation. "Maybe it's just someone passing by," Jake suggested weakly, but even he didn't seem convinced. "No, it's not," Mr. Thompson replied, furrowing his brows. "This is our town. We know each other. If someone's lurking, we need to know why." A collective shiver ran through the group. The cheering for adventure felt distant now, replaced by an unsettling sense that they had disturbed something far beyond their intentions. Sarah could almost feel the heavy pulse of the mansion itself, its walls alive with memories and whispers of long-forgotten tales. They quickly shifted their focus back to the mansion. "We can do this. We will take our first step into that house, but we need to be cautious," she declared, fighting to regain the momentum. "Let us set a date for our expedition." After some back and forth, they settled on the following Saturday. The day felt miles away, stretching like a long shadow. As they slowly dispersed, Sarah took a deep breath and looked around at the faces that had once felt like strangers but now pulsed with shared connection. Hope glimmered in their eyes, yet the undercurrent of uncertainty couldn't be ignored. Later that evening, Sarah lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the events of the day swirling in her mind. What had triggered the unusual tension? Were they truly in danger, or had they simply stepped into a world where fears whispered loudly? A soft thump jolted her from her thoughts. She sat up, heart racing, straining to hear any further sounds. The house felt inhabited, shadows shifting in the corners of her room. Just an old house, she reassured herself, but the thought was quickly dismissed. Just as she began to settle, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a message from Hannah. "Sarah, I couldn't sleep. Should we look deeper into the history of the mansion before we go? I found some old articles." Excitement washed over her, but an uneasy feeling still gripped her. "Yes. Let us meet tomorrow. She typed back, urgency flowing through each tap of her fingers. As she set the phone down, she couldn't shake the sense that whatever lay ahead would not only uncover the mansion's past but her own as well. Flickering candlelight outside her window caught her attention. It's just a car, she thought, but the truth was a growing seed of doubt burrowed deeper into her mind. The peculiar feeling followed her into her dreams, woven with memories of laughter echoing through long-lost halls and shadows reaching toward her. The next day, as Sarah met Hannah at the town library, a sense of purpose lined every step. They would dig and discover before rising to the mansion's challenge. But anticipation mingled with trepidation. What hidden truths would they unveil? Would the shadows give way to light, or would they only compound their web of mystery? And when they uncovered an old photograph, a chilling image of the mansion, but it was what lay in the background that sent Sarah's heart racing again. Someone was watching, and it seemed this someone had deep ties to the house. What would this discovery mean for their expedition? Was it a warning or merely another piece of the puzzle? Sarah swallowed hard, her heartbeat quickening as she sensed they were only scratching the surface of something far deeper, something that might come rushing back to claim them. What else would they uncover in the dusty archives? As they pored over the articles and old photographs spread out on the library table, Sarah's heart raced with anticipation and anxiety. The musty scent of the aged papers filled her nostrils, almost like a portal to the past, beckoning her to delve deeper. Look at this. Hannah pointed to a faded newspaper clipping, its edges yellowed with age. It detailed a tragedy that struck the mansion decades ago, a fire that consumed the second floor, leaving the town speechless. But it was rebuilt, right? Sarah asked, scanning the article quickly. Yeah, but not without damage. Some say the fire was set on purpose, Hannah replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Others claimed it was connected to the family that owned it. The Allens. As they dug deeper, they stumbled upon old ledgers that listed the household finances, sketches of the mansion, and a disturbing list of unexplained disappearances linked to the Allens. Each name felt heavy, as if they were stepping into the shoes of those long gone, the shadows of their stories mingling with their own. This is unreal, Sarah breathed, her voice trembling slightly with the weight of discovery. What if we're dealing with something bigger than we realize? Fingers interlaced, Hannah nodded, but a worry creased her brow. What if the person lurking in the shadows knows about this? What if they're still connected to the house? A chill snaked down Sarah's spine. We can't back out now. We need to find out the truth before we confront whatever's waiting for us in that mansion. They spent the entire afternoon sifting through records and photographs, uncovering glimpses of family portraits, celebrations, and dark moments that seemed to echo within the walls of the mansion itself. Each revelation twisted in her stomach, forming a knot of dread that refused to loosen. As night fell, the library took on an eerie silence, punctuated only by the occasional rustle of paper. With every clue they found, the feeling of being watched lurked closer. Sarah could almost feel the weight of unseen eyes, the very essence of the mansion seeping through the pages of history. Then, as if the ground were shifting beneath her, Hannah gasped. Sarah, look at this. She held up a small wooden box they had found tucked away in an old shelf. It was ornately carved and adorned with strange symbols. The box felt cold against Sarah's palm as she marveled at its intricate design, and a sense of foreboding washed over her. Do you think it's connected to the mansion? Hannah whispered, her face pale. I don't know, but something tells me it's important. With a trembling hand, Sarah opened the box. Inside lay a collection of letters, some yellowing with age while others were still crisp and new. What are they? Hannah whispered, leaning closer, but before Sarah could answer, the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway outside the library, too loud and deliberate to be anyone from the town. The air felt charged, every breath becoming a race against an unseen threat. The letters slipped from her fingers, scattering across the floor. Hannah, did you hear that? Yeah, she replied, her eyes wide. What do we do? Just then, the library door creaked open, revealing a shadowy figure standing just out of sight, their face obscured by darkness. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as the figure stepped closer. Could this be the one watching them? Or worse, someone linked to the mansion's dark history? In that moment, hanging between fear and determination, Sarah realized they had unwittingly crossed a line. They were being drawn into a mystery far deeper and more dangerous than they anticipated. What truths would be unearthed next? And would they be prepared for what lay ahead? The figure stepped into the dim light of the library, a silhouette framed by shadows. The tension in the air was palpable, every heartbeat echoing in Sarah's ears. She looked to Hannah, who was already clenching her fingers against the table, a mixture of fear and curiosity dancing across her face. Who are you?" Sarah managed to stammer, her voice trembling slightly. The figure remained silent for a moment, as if weighing its next words. Finally, the voice broke through the silence, low and gravelly. "You shouldn't be here." "Neither should you," Hannah shot back, her bravery surprising even herself. "What do you want?" A flicker of amusement crossed the figure's features as they stepped further into the light. It was an older man, perhaps in his 60s, with graying hair and piercing blue eyes. The unsettling chill that had settled over the room shifted slightly, like a breeze passing through the branches of a tree. "I'm here to protect the house," he said, his gaze darting to the scattered letters on the floor. "And I suppose to protect you too from what you've unearthed." "Protect us?" Sarah echoed incredulously. "By scaring us half to death." "By keeping the past buried where it belongs," he replied, his tone hardening. "The Allens' legacy is more dangerous than you know." From behind the stranger, the library suddenly seemed to expand and shrink, the walls almost pulsing with a life of their own. Sarah felt her heart race in rhythm with that building pressure. It felt as though the mansion itself was alive, eager to disclose its secrets but equally eager to guard them. "What do you mean?" Hannah interjected, stepping closer. "What happened to the family?" The man hesitated before answering. "The Allens were involved in more than running a mansion. They practiced things that should never see the light of day. Those disappearances you found, they weren't just matters of fate or bad luck." Sarah swallowed hard. "What are you saying? Were they involved in something dark?" He nodded gravely. "In the old days, they dabbled in rituals and sacrifices. The fire that destroyed part of the mansion was no accident, it was a consequence of their actions, something to void their sins, but it only compounded them. The spirits that linger in this house, they're restless because of it." Fear bubbled low in Sarah's stomach, mixing with disbelief. "So, you're saying there might be ghosts here? Are you serious?" "More than just ghosts," the man replied, his eyes narrowing. "The mansion itself has a history that you conjured by coming here. It's drawn to you, to your curiosity." Hannah frowned, her eyes darting to the box and the letters still scattered on the floor. "But we were only trying to uncover the truth." "Truth can be a dangerous thing," he warned. "You need to leave. Now. Before it's too late." The urgency in his voice sent a chill down Sarah's spine. She glanced at Hannah, who looked like she was about to argue, but the weight of the man's words pressed heavily around them. "Wait," Sarah said, stepping forward again. "What about the letters? What if they hold the key to stopping whatever's in this house? We can't leave without understanding." The man sighed, his shoulders sagging under the burden of their need to know. "If you insist on pursuing this, be prepared. The more you dig, the more you become entangled in the Allens' dark web. And you'll help us?" Hannah asked, her voice firm, even as fear lurked beneath the surface. A long beat passed as the man studied them, measuring the resolve in their determined faces. "I'll guide you," he finally said. "But you must promise to be cautious. The house has eyes and whispers. If it senses you meddling, it won't hold back." Sarah's heart raced at the prospect of unraveling a mystery shrouded in darkness, igniting a fire for the next chapter in their quest. "Let us do it," she declared, looking resolutely at Hannah. "We'll face this together." But as they prepared to uncover the truth, they didn't notice the faint flicker of candlelight in a corner, nor did they see the enigmatic shadows shifting behind them, waiting for their moment. What awaited them on this treacherous path, and was the darkness more dangerous than they imagined? The man glanced between Sarah and Hannah, a storm of emotion swirling behind his blue eyes. There are things in this mansion that even I don't fully understand. But if you're going to do this, there's no turning back, he warned, his voice dropping to a hushed urgency. What should we start with? Hannah asked, her curiosity winning over her fear. Start with the letters. They're not just correspondence, they're more like talismans, holding a piece of the past, he replied, stepping further into the dim light, revealing more wrinkles etched in his skin. Sarah bent down to gather the scattered papers, her hands trembling slightly. Each letter felt heavier than the last as she placed them in a neat stack. But what about the spirits? She asked. How do we protect ourselves? The older man looked pained, his expression darkening as he replied, the spirits aren't your only concern. What the Allens practiced can provoke something far more sinister. You must uncover their stories, but approach with respect and caution. Right, Sarah whispered, a chill creeping up her spine. She could still sense that invisible weight in the room. The very walls seemed to be listening. Hannah opened the top letter, her brow furrowing as she read aloud. Dear Gregory, I hope this letter reaches you well. The sacrifices are becoming too much to bear, and I fear the consequences will soon come knocking at our door. She trailed off, glancing up. What does this mean? It means the Allens were in too deep, the man interjected, a tremor in his voice indicating how much this history unsettled him. They crossed lines that wiped away their humanity. Each letter could lead you deeper into their world. Sarah took a deep breath, determination settling into her chest. Then let us dive in. We need to understand how to break this cycle. We can't just run away. With a quick nod, the man agreed, but his face paled noticeably. Then let's begin with this one. He pointed at a letter marked with an unusual seal. It mentions a specific ritual, a binding to protect the house. If it's successful, it might quell the unrest that lingers in the air. As they turned their focus to the ritual described, an unsettling wind swept through the room, extinguishing the nearby candles. Shadows danced wildly across the walls, and an icy chill enveloped them. Did you feel that? Sarah's voice was barely above a whisper. Stay focused, the man urged, his eyes darting around the library, searching for the source of the disturbance. If you let fear distract you, it could. A sudden crash echoed, sending all three of them jumping back. The box of letters and artifacts had toppled over, revealing an unexpected item from beneath the glint of a small, ornate key, worn with time. Is this part of the mystery? Hannah asked, reaching for it cautiously. The moment her fingers brushed the key, the air shifted. It felt charged, electric. Sarah could hear the faintest whisper. Was it in her mind, or was something truly trying to communicate? I don't think it's safe, the man warned, dread flooding his features. That key might unlock something better left closed. But Sarah's curiosity surged. What if it's the answer we need? This time, the atmosphere thickened with tension, and shadows coalesced at the corners of the room, watching. The old man's expression tightened. Beware of what you ask for. It might open more than just a door. They stood in a triangle of mixed emotions, anticipation swimming in the air, but something darker loomed beyond the threshold of their quest. With hearts racing, they prepared to make a choice that would surely lead them further down a perilous path. Would they dare to find out what lay beyond the locked door, and would they escape the clutches of the mansion's haunting legacy? As the tension in the library grew, Sarah clutched the key tightly. A cool shiver ran down her spine, filled with the unsettling electricity of possibilities. Hannah's eyes sparkled with intrigue. What do you think it unlocks? I don't know, Sarah admitted, her voice trembling slightly. But we have to find out. The man warned them again, his expression granite-like. Every choice has consequences. If the key opens the forgotten past, be prepared. Secrets are not easily buried. With shared glances exchanging silent encouragement, they resolved to face whatever awaited them. "I'm in," Hannah whispered, her determination rising like a tide. "Me too," Sarah replied, feeling the warmth of resolve pulse through her. As they exited the library, the world beyond felt eerily calm, the weight of history pressing on their shoulders. Sarah's mind raced with possibilities, anxieties weaving in and out like shadows. They approached the mansion, where peeling paint and scorched walls stood testament to its once lively grandeur. The sun began to set, painting the sky with rich oranges and purples, a stark contrast to the dark emotions shrouding the old house. Each step seemed louder than the last, reverberating off the walls. Inside, the air was thick, as if the mansion held its breath. They made their way to the parlor where the old man had hinted this journey would lead them. With a deliberate motion, Sarah placed the key on a carved wooden table. It stood there, small yet powerful, a beacon of hope amidst uncertainty. "What if whatever's locked away can free the spirits trapped here?" she asked, turning to the man. "Or bind you to their fate," he warned. "We need to be careful. If you unlock that door, you may invite more than just memories into this world." Taking a deep breath, she nodded at Hannah, whose unwavering gaze urged her on. Steeling herself, Sarah slid the key into the small, rusted lock at the base of a neglected bookshelf. With a slight turn, the lock clicked. The tension built as the door creaked open with a low groan, revealing a hidden chamber bathed in dim light. Inside, they found a collection of artifacts, ceremonial masks, strange symbols inscribed on walls, and bubbling vials filled with dusty potions. It was a relic of the Allens' dark practices. But more than that, it felt like a portal to their past, steeped in danger and revelations. "What is this place?" Hannah whispered, eyes wide with wonder. "They practiced here," the man said gravely. "And something about this room holds the essence of their hope, and their curse." Sarah stepped closer to a large, intricate tapestry hanging on the wall, its colors dull but vibrant in memory. It portrayed families and gatherings, vibrant connections woven through time. These were the lives intertwined with the mansion. Her conviction renewed, she turned to the old man. "How do we free them? How do we heal this place?" "You must perform the binding ritual." His voice softened. "With your courage and intention, you can mend what was broken. But be wary, for the energy in this room is volatile." With a steady hand, Sarah began piecing together the artifacts, arranging them as indicated in the fading texts around them. Each element felt charged, a whisper of memories curling around her fingers. As they organized those pieces, emotions swirled through the room. Indistinct whispers began to rise, echoing stories of love, betrayal, and hope, each leaving a residue in the air. The faces of her children flickered through Sarah's mind, their pride, their struggle. In that moment, she understood they were in this together. This was about healing not only a broken mansion but their family as well. "Let us do this," she said firmly. Hannah nodded, while the old man stepped back, allowing the energy of the room to envelop them. Together, they began chanting the words page by page, their voices rising in a gentle crescendo that blended into the tapestry of history. As they spoke the final incantation, an electric shock rippled through the room. The air thickened around them, and suddenly, shadows danced, swirling like a tempest. Screams ebbed and flowed, merging with their voices, twisting into a haunting melody of pain and longing. At that moment, Sarah felt something shift inside her, a light slicing through the shadows. The spirits were no longer restless, they were reaching for peace. Then, with one final pulse, everything went still. Silence washed over the chamber like a wave retreating from the shore. As sunlight broke through the windows, Sarah opened her eyes. The room felt warm and alive, the weight of despair lifted. "Did we do it?" Hannah asked breathlessly. "Yes," the man said, awe spilling from his voice. "You've freed their stories, by doing so, you've set them free." In the dim glow, the spirit of the mansion felt different, lighter, more welcoming. Sarah glanced around, heart soaring at the thought of rebuilding not just the mansion but her family, together as one. As they stepped outside, the once defeated mansion stood tall against the blue sky. It felt rejuvenated, ready to reclaim its place in the community, just as Sarah was beginning to reclaim her life with her children. Together, they turned back to the sprawling mansion. Hope blossomed anew in their hearts. The journey was far from over, but together, they had laid the first stones on a path toward healing and renewal. Walking hand in hand, they felt the roots of their connection deepen, staving off judgment, healing old wounds. The mansion wasn't just bricks, it was their family and community revived, and as they faced the future, Sarah knew they would remain united. The laughter, the joy, the spirit of the mansion lived through them. Now was the time to forge ahead, to build a future haunted not by fear but by the power of shared stories. And as they took their first steps together, a single thought echoed softly in Sarah's mind: every ending could be a new beginning. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Let us spread this story far and wide.